So you should be seeing a screen with the side saying welcome. And I really mean that with that exclamation point. I'm very, very excited that you all are here today. And your enthusiasm and interest in our program makes me feel that much more excited about making our program great. I guess one thing about me is I tend to have a lot of tabs open. If that's something that you all can see from this, but that's like my fun fact for the day that I'm disclosing with you. I've introduced Claudia as our Graduate Affairs Manager and Aru as well. Here's what I hope to cover. A program overview, program requirements, and some comments about our curriculum. And then I might turn it over to Claudia to talk about eligibility and application requirements. Then we'll discuss faculty research interests and really just open it up because we want to hear from you all on what questions you have. So save any questions you have until a little bit later. Please write them down and we'll spend plenty of time talking about them. I thought I'd start this presentation with a reflection on why we do what we do. You know, we have a philosophy within our clinical area that I think is very value-centered and mission-driven. We think carefully about what we do and why we do it. And one of the things that we often talk about is this idea of following our passion. And many of you may have heard, all of you have probably heard this advice, follow your passion, follow your passion. It's a great advice, right? But I think it needs to be unpacked a little bit in that passion as a construct is sort of dynamic, you know, it changes. You know, you could be passionate about something now, but not passionate about it later. Additionally, the idea that we all have a passion and it's sort of innate to us, that's, I think, misleading as well. Many of us don't exactly know what our passions are. We have some inkling of it, and you know, it's evolving and it's growing, and we don't know where that passion lies. So with the complexity of passion in mind, but yet the fact that I think it is good advice to follow one's passion, we think about this idea of following our passion in a way in which we codify and define what that really means. So what I like to think is that if you find yourself doing things where you're in the intersection of doing things that you like, that are fun for you, that you enjoy, things that you're good at, where you have some efficacy, where some skill, where people are like, wow, man, that was fantastic. You're really great at this. And lastly, doing things that matter or make a difference. If you find yourself in that intersection, or if you direct yourself to doing things where you are doing things that you like and that you're good at and that do matter or make a difference in your community, in your world, and make your world a little better, then I suggest that you are, in fact, following your passion. And that's where you want to be. And I also think that for many people, and many of you, UCI could be a great place where you could find opportunities to do things that you like and that you're good at and that matter and make a difference. And if you are here, UCI has this tremendous platform, a megaphone, if you might, of how to share your vision and your values and the things that you do to make things better, to make a difference. UCI is an exceptional place where I think that you might be able to find opportunities to not just find your passion, but then nurture and then run with your passions. We do have a clear vision and a mission for our program. I think I'll read this to you and maybe annotate it as I go along. But our program will lead the search for new knowledge in assessment, understanding, prevention, and treatment of psychological disorders and mental health concerns from an inclusive perspective that is psychologically, ecologically, socially, and biologically informed. So that might be a bit of a run-on sentence, but it's jam-packed with really important information. First, the search for new knowledge. What could be more exciting than the generation of new knowledge that no one in the world in the history of humanity has ever uncovered or distilled? And that is an opportunity that you would have here. We thirst for that through all of our programs of research, all of the faculty and the students alike. This is something that drives us, that motivates us to identify new knowledge in the areas around assessment, understanding, prevention, and treatment. These are core concepts of psychology and mental health in general that make inroads in addressing the human condition of psychological disorders and mental health concerns. And mental health concerns, we put that in there to be more broad, because this isn't a program that's really uniquely specific on diagnoses or disorders, but rather we think more inclusively about mental health concerns on a continuum. We do all this from an inclusive perspective, meaning we have intentionality around our ideas about diversity, equity, health disparities, and inclusive excellence. So this perspective is not just inclusive of the majority, but rather looks to engage those who have been othered and marginalized in our society to create a better community writ large for all of us. It's psychologically, meaning the ways in which we think, ecologically and socially, the things that surround us, our environment and the people that sort of connect us with one another and that sort of make us who we are, and biologically informed. So we have a biopsychosocial and ecologically informed approach to care and to our research, for that matter. All right, so that's unpacking sentence one. In this service, we will train clinical scientists to produce, implement, evaluate, and disseminate psychological science. Psychological science is important to us. All right, this is the creation of new knowledge that will drive the field of mental health in terms of practice and future research through our science, and to function as leaders. This may be the most important word for me in all of our vision and mission. Leaders. Leaders in academic research and applied settings to improve the human condition from an inclusive lens. I think that there of course is a shortage of mental health providers in the country and in the nation, or in the world, and also in California. But we are not going to solve that problem. Our cohort is pretty small. We'll maybe have between 6 to 10 students in any given year. But what we intend to fill is the void of leadership. Students will come here with critical thinking skills that they will continue to hone, and they will continue to use to identify ills of the world, societal challenges that the leadership skills that you will acquire within this program will help you tackle, will help you be parts of the solution, as opposed to small parts, big parts, making major inroads in the progression of how we make the world better. All right, so I did say that our model is a clinical science model, so we do emphasize clinical science, and we lead the search for new knowledge and assessment, understanding, and treatment of psychological disorders. This was part of the prior statement, and mental health concerns from a contextually, socially, ecologically, and biologically informed perspective. This is what drives the clinical training and the research training within our milieu. What is clinical science from a different perspective? Our program, it integrates research and training. So our students right now are in placements where they are thinking about the research that they do and applying it there, and they're thinking, and then they're taking their clinical experiences and applying that into their research. Research is the primary focus of and the primary angle that our students bring to bear, but the relationship is reciprocal and creates a very virtuous cycle where one grows from the other. As I see here, research informs all aspects of our practice, and practice all aspects of our research. It's integration. The integration isn't just within practicum training, but it goes throughout the curriculum. So all of our classes have strong doses of research that will inform practice, and our faculty serve as models. So the types of research that we all are doing are very much targeted towards improving the human condition with respect to mental health concerns and challenges within our system of care, whether it be access or interventions or understanding psychopathology in ways that can shed new light and alleviate aspects of the challenges that this psychopathology might bring. We are producing new research, discovering new knowledge that should help others in need. We champion, promote, disseminate, create, innovate ways to improve the human condition. This is ultimately what our driving goal and our mission is. We do this within our own discipline of psychology, but importantly, we do this across disciplines. I think being a part of a school of social ecology really creates a mandate for us to work with disciplines like social work, psychiatry, occupational therapy, other counseling disciplines, as well as medicine and just primary care. So across disciplines, we are working to create solutions that we couldn't do on our own, and give input to other disciplines that couldn't do it without our input. We do this intentionally, with awareness and with purpose. We pursue things not on accident. We're doing things where we know that there's going to be a long-term outcome and benefit to the work that we are putting forth. I mentioned the concept of leadership in that earlier slide. That will resonate and grow with you through this program. Science is part of what we do, but the last piece of our philosophy that I want to mention, so that you remember it and hold on to it, is that we have a deep and respectful commitment to cultural responsivity, intercultural competence, and humility, so that we know that we don't know everything, and we understand that society and the ways in which mental health care historically have marginalized people of color, people from other backgrounds and communities, that we as future leaders have a responsibility to change and to address. And so that becomes part of our zeitgeist and is something that all of us hold near and dear to our heart, and at some way or some level are committed to addressing. So we serve the mental health needs of our local community and our campus, which have highly diverse populations. So we're not just sort of insular, where we're just gaining knowledge for our own gratification, but we share this knowledge with those around us. And we have this belief that our work matters, that this isn't an academic exercise. We're not in an ivory tower. We actually think that what we do can make a difference for some of our most vulnerable brothers, sisters, and siblings. We also believe that kindness and excellence are not mutually exclusive, but rather, if you weave together kindness and excellence, you can get something far greater than you could if you tried to just be nice or just be the best. You can be both. And ultimately, I think it's very clear when you walk through our hallways that we all believe in one another, from faculty to staff to students, and across. We know that the work that the other person that we're looking at is doing is impactful and meaningful, and we're proud to be in the same community as them. Comments about diversity and health disparities and our approach and our beliefs. We as a whole believe that diversity, broadly defined, makes us great. Diversity of thought is what innovates, what creates, what allows us to serve the most people and get closest to our ultimate goals. We also recognize systematic marginalization that innovations in psychology can be used to help address, because the history of systematic marginalization needs to be overturned. For instance, can we address issues such as local homelessness? Can we pursue the science of cultural responsivity and intercultural competence and cultural humility? These are contributions that we hope to be able to make within our community that we could share to the world. We have found ourselves embedded within the School of Social Ecology. So, many of you may be unfamiliar with UCI, but we have different schools. Some universities call them different colleges within their university, but we call them schools. And our school is a School of Social Ecology. And it's really cool in that this School of Social Ecology has second most majors, undergraduate majors in the university. There's a lot of students that really believe in this model. And the model weaves together three different departments. You have our department, which is psychological science. Then you have criminology, law, and society. And there's a lot of interface between psychological science, our department, and criminology, law, and society, where we're able to cross disciplines to create more humane and responsive justice systems that are infused with psychological principles. And we also have urban planning and public policy, which gives us the more ecological perspective of what surrounds our neighborhoods, or what surrounds us through our neighborhoods and the ecology in which we live. We also are very rich in terms of affiliated centers that we have to work with. the Center for Psychology and Law, and the Institute for Interdisciplinary Salivary Bioscience Research, Institute for Memory Impairment and Neurological Disorders, Center for Neurobiological and Learning and Memory. These are just a handful of centers within our school that are making, creating new information, generating new knowledge, and sharing it with the world. Okay, applications are considered holistically. So, Claudia, forgive me if this is the part where I'm supposed to switch off to you.
No, you can go ahead here, Jason. I can take over a few slides next.
Okay, cool. Sorry everyone for that interruption. But when we are thinking about who to admit to our program, a person that expresses some of the values that I just shared and feels those ways will be a good position from which to start. But we do look at applications holistically. What this means is if you have a relative weakness in your application, discuss it. Put that in your personal statement, don't hide from it, and show us where you make up for that, or you've shown that you can, that perhaps it's not a liability if it's just framed in a different way, or you've shown that you've been able to overcome some sort of challenge that shows up on your resume or your past. We are looking for evidence that you can succeed in the context of our program. So experiences related to research and that seem to fit within the mentor in which who you're applying, that would be good. The match with the mentor is paramount. All right, so some frequently asked questions that we've had in the past. How many years of research experience should an applicant have? Well, this really depends, but by and large, more research experience is good. What I personally look for, and I think what a lot of us look for, is a student that sort of knows what they're getting into, or an applicant that knows what they're getting into. They know what it's like to publish or to do research, to be in a lab. They have some idea of a program of research, or at least have a general interest in the types of research that the mentor with whom they're applying for is doing. So, so there's no one-size-fits-all answer to that question, but I will say that quality and quantity both matter. So we want people that have done good work in solid labs and also have done it long enough for us to know that they understand the research process. The next frequently asked question is, do you expect applicants to have practical clinical experience in therapeutic settings? Not necessarily. Clinical experience can be helpful, especially if you're using it to inform your research ideas and the direction you want to go in terms of your program of research. But clinical experience is definitely not a requirement. As I mentioned, we are first and foremost a research-oriented program. We want people to be great clinicians, but we also want them to be great researchers too. The next, the next question I get is about APA accreditation. So we are currently in our second year, and we have been working very closely with the APA. There's no question in my mind that we will have smooth sailing to APA accreditation by the time that you graduate, and by the time that our first cohort graduates. The process for this is highly regulated at the federal level. So in addition to APA, we also have to work with the Department of Education for accreditation purposes. And in a nutshell, the way it works is that first we'll apply next year to be accredited on contingency, and then we'll be in that status for 3 years. That's the length of time that you stay on in contingent status. And then when our first student graduates, that's when we become accredited. So, and even for that student, it's not a liability to be accredited on contingency. It's the same as being graduating from an accredited program. So smooth sailing, no concerns about APA accreditation. And just as a point of note, I work very closely with the APA and have developed our program hand in hand with the APA. So there should be no surprises. All right, some more questions here. What qualities does the ideal applicant have? Well, this varies, but it could be things like persistence or passion, conscientiousness, creativity, optimism, and the desire to make the world better, especially in large part for that addresses issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusivity, but not exclusively. We are looking for people that are ready to change the world and ready to do it together with others. Who is this program for? Students with critical thinking skills who want to be leaders in making a difference through rigorous training in clinical science. Do applicants need a particular undergraduate major? Nope. Do applicants need professional experience prior to applying? No, but research experience is good. So that makes you a stronger applicant. Our program is designed for students to graduate in 6 years. So pretty consistent with most programs throughout the country. 1 to 5, the first 5 years are here at UCI. You'll be doing courses, getting clinical training, and of course, pursuing your research. Then that 6th year will be a pre-doctoral internship. You graduate, and then you'll go on to be a leader post-graduation. But I should say, you will be a leader while you're here as well. With respect to structure, we have an advisor / mentor like link. So you apply to work with someone in particular, and then if they accept you into the program, they sort of become your primary contact, your partner in research. Funding. We have funding that's guaranteed from the time you get here through your 5th year. And we also, as a really cool benefit, have guaranteed placement in graduate student housing. So this is really good because cost of living or housing in the community is high. So graduate students have the opportunity to live right. I can see the housing right from my window right now. It's really nice, and it's very affordable, and it's super convenient to campus. So that's I think a really stellar aspect of our program. It's not free, but it's subsidized. We have some program milestones I'll mention here. You have like a 1st year concept paper, which is kind of like the precursor to your master's, and then your 2nd year project, which is a master's project. Comprehensive exam, dissertation. You'll be doing practicum in your 2nd year, and we'll have a in-house clinic training program with you for you to do that your 2nd year, and then your internship. So if you've gone to other programs or if you've other programs orientation, or you know about how graduate school works, this is very, very consistent with other models. Nothing sort of out of the ordinary here. Program curriculum. We have core clinical courses. These include things like psychopathology, clinical research methods. We also have assessment, which is a class I teach, and 2 intervention classes, as well as ethics, and a few other classes. Now we're on the quarter system, so what's cool about that is you get to cover a lot of classes pretty quickly. We also have breadth requirements, and I'll mention this moment in a few minutes, but we have some of the best psychologists in the country that are not clinical psychologists. We have fantastic developmental psychology and social psychology classes within our department, which is a great bonus that I think exceeds the benefits of most other programs in the nation. And then there's like general required courses like statistics and research methods, which will give you the foundation that you need to be great clinical scientists. With respect to research, you'll develop an independent program of research guided by your advisor and mentor. Hopefully you'll partner with them to create and generate ideas together that you couldn't do, that neither of you could do on your own. And then there's clinical training. In your 1st year, you'll have in-house practicum, excuse me, in your 2nd year, your 1st year of training, in-house practicum. And we've just hired perhaps the best clinic director in the country from that decided to leave another university so that she could help build the best clinical training program and clinic with in-house clinic training at UCI. So that's going to be flourishing by the time that you get here, and it'll be super exciting to be a part of that. Okay, Claudia.
Yes.
This is your part?
Yeah. All right. I could take over here
thanks.
and talk a little bit about the technical application requirements. I know some of you might have been in our previous session, so excuse me if any of this is repetitive. But so as you might know by now, our application deadline is coming up on December 1st. The application is now open, and you can go ahead and access that at this link here in the presentation. The application fee is currently $135 for our U.S. citizens and U.S. permanent residents and $155 for international applicants. We do have fee waivers available. More information about eligibility requirements, how to apply, and everything in between can be found at these links here. The one thing to note here is that if you are applying for a fee waiver, that is going to be due 5 days before our December 1st deadline. The March 4th in this case doesn't apply because our deadlines are much earlier in December. So just remember 5 days before December 1st if you are interested in applying for an application fee waiver. Unofficial transcripts from every college, university you've attended after high school are required. Those do not need to be sent into the university. They can be uploaded on Slate directly or to the application, which is a big upgrade and really exciting for a lot of our applicants. The GPA requirement is a 3.0. This is a standard requirement across the entire university. However, for our program, we do consider 3.5 to 3.7 GPA about the competitive range. To reiterate, we do have a holistic admissions process, so all factors of the application will be weighed equally, not just in GPA against other factors. We will look at research, GPA, your statements, letters of recommendation, and so on. Next slide, Jason, please. Okay, the GRE is not required for this admission cycle. Yay, so you don't need to worry about that. Big weight off of your shoulders, I hope. For the English language proficiency requirements for admission, all applicants are required to demonstrate English proficiency for admissions consideration. What this means is that if you have earned an undergraduate or a master's degree from an institution at which English was the sole language of instruction, according to the World Higher Education Database, you can find out more here at this link, you will be waived from that English proficiency requirement. This is a little bit of a complex requirement to understand. So if you have any questions or hesitations about what this might mean, feel free to reach out to me or Iris Castro. Her information will be at the end of the presentation. For those of you who do need to demonstrate English proficiency for admissions, though, we do have the 2 tests that you can take here. It's either the TOEFL or the IELTS, and these are the minimum scores that are required. So for the TOEFL, it'll be the 80 minimum, with the speak being 26 or above, and the IELTS being the 7 overall, no less than 6 on any section, with a speak score of 8 or above. We do have a 3 letters of recommendation requirement, with the max being 5. These should be uploaded online to your application. We will not accept those by email or mailed in person. And a question that we regularly get is, my letter writers are letting me know that they're going to be behind in submitting those letters of recommendation, but I know the application's due on December 1st. Am I still eligible to apply? Yes, you can still apply. However, our admission process moves really quickly. So we just encourage you to please do your best to follow up with your letter writers and ensure that they have those letters in as soon as possible and as close to that deadline as possible. It will take a little bit of time for a committee to actually have the applications in hand to begin reviewing, but we cannot accept or we cannot offer any full admission offers until the application is considered complete. And so that would include the minimum 3 letters of recommendation. The statement and purpose, one more thing. The statement of purpose and personal history are also required for the application. And if you click this link here, you can go to a page where we give a big breakdown of what's required, what kind of things we'd like to see you talk about, the page limit, which is 1,200 words max, and any other information that would be relevant to those statements. You may also submit a CV, resume, and or any other relevant documents such as published articles or writing samples to your application. Those are not required, but you're welcome to upload them if you'd like. Okay. All right. I think that's it for me, Jason.
All right. Thank you, Claudia. Awesome. Okay, so clinical faculty. I feel so lucky to be among colleagues who embrace those concepts of kindness and excellence together. They are not mutually exclusive here for sure. Doing amazing work. And many of our faculty are up and coming and yet already world-renowned clinical scientists. So it's so cool to see this upward trajectory. that my colleagues are on. And they do this as a team. So we firmly believe that we can go farther together than we can by ourselves. In fact, none of us get to where we're going on our own. And as a result of that, we have cultivated a community of collaboration and not competition. You'll see a range of interests, including interest in developmental psychopathology, psychosis, neuropsychology, health, M-health and implementation science, behavioral medicine, trauma, and resilience, among other possible research interests that our faculty are pursuing. Here's a slide that shows the clinical faculty. So you'll see me at the top there, and then Susan Charles, Jesse Borelli, who is the Associate Director of Clinical Training, Kate Coleman, Dan Nation, Elizabeth Martin, Stephen Schuler, Ray Navaco, Julian Thayer, and Allison Zolta. Fantastic clinical scientists who are doing great work and who are really great mentors. I alluded to this earlier, but the faculty who are not clinical, equally awesome. In fact, we have some of the most world-renowned innovators, influencers, and leaders in the world. Maybe one famous person within our department who's a kind and involved part of our community is Elizabeth Loftus. So many of you probably know of Elizabeth Loftus from Repressed Memories and the like, but she is teaching classes and is part of what we do on a day-to-day basis here. Other folks are interested in positive psychology, behavioral medicine, psychology in the law, and memory. We have a really strong psychology and law program, which led by another Beth Kaufman, who's also world-renowned and fantastic. So high levels of research excellence, and they're in applied areas that are really akin to clinical psychology. So it works great. And it creates a top-notch psychology milieu from which all of us grow and learn.